Scott awoke in the dome, that great echoing chamber of metal cribs and padded silences. The air was fetid, heavy with the unmistakable smell of soiled bodies left too long untouched. A queasy layer of dread settled over his chest as he tried to sit up, the plastic sheets crinkling beneath him like mocking laughter. The soft fluorescent lights overhead flickered on with a dull hum. From the far side of the room, Headmaster Sarah emerged. She was smaller than Headmistress Nash, but sterner in expression. Her every movement had the tight, mechanical discipline of someone who had not smiled in years. Without a word, she began unlocking the crib doors, one by one. When she reached the third crib, a boy broke down. His face was flushed, blotched with panic and tears. "I can't do this," he sobbed. "Please, I don't belong here." Headmaster Sarah's eyes did not narrow, nor did her voice rise. She simply reached to her side and raised the black lacquered paddle, holding it up like a symbol. "You will comply," she said. The boy fell silent and slid back into line. Scott felt the fear knot in his gut like an old rope. They were arranged in a single file line, stumbling, shuffling, waddling, all still dressed in the now heavy diapers they had slept in. Some were leaking, others sagged comically. There was no attempt at modesty anymore. In this place, shame was not removed, it was weaponized. One by one they entered the changing hall, where Nurse Susan, the clinical hand of the academy, waited. She stood beside a padded table and a tray of supplies as pristine and sterile as her demeanor. Her nose was painted faintly white, ointment to dull the scent of what she dealt with daily. "Lie back," she instructed. Each student obeyed. The process was the same: remove, wipe, powder, tape. With each mechanical change, dignity drained a little further away. After the line had been processed, they were herded into the cafeteria, a place that might once have been a library. Its high ceilings still bore murals of clouds and trees, but everything else had been replaced with plastic trays and dull-eyed staff. Breakfast was one small jar of beige baby food. Scott turned it in his hand, examining the label. Mixed grain puree. It smelled like cardboard and regret. "I can't eat this," he muttered to the boy beside him, who stared blankly at his tray. Before Scott could say more, a sharp crack hit the table beside him. One of the headmistresses stood over him, her paddle resting like a threat in midair. "You will eat it, unless you prefer a beating before breakfast." Swallowing the taste of panic, Scott dipped the plastic spoon into the mush and shoveled it into his mouth. It tasted like nothing, not awful, but not food. His stomach turned. He gagged. He kept going. When he was finished, a woman approached him with a damp cloth and wiped his mouth. "No messiness. You want to be punished for being messy?" He shook his head. "Good," she said. "You'll learn." It was time for his first class. The hallways of the academy were cold, built of greenish stone that swallowed sound. He walked in line with the others, his steps wide and awkward from the thickness between his legs. As they passed a long mirror, he looked, not recognizing the creature reflected back. Halfway to class, a sharp pain bloomed in his stomach, sudden and fierce. He hunched over. The group kept walking. "Move!" snapped a voice. "Class is waiting." "I can't," he gasped. "My stomach—" And then it happened. He felt his body betray him. One of the staff, seeing the moment, grabbed him by the collar and pushed him lightly, yet firmly, into a row of lockers. "Go to nurse," Susan. Scott nodded, eyes welling with shame, and made his way toward the infirmary. "Wait," Susan said without looking up from her desk. "I'll deal with you shortly." He stood, waiting in silence, for 10 long minutes. Eventually, she opened a drawer, pulled out her gloves, and laid out the changing supplies. Her movements were not cruel, but they were entirely detached. He may as well have been a sack of flour. She wiped him clean. She sprinkled powder. She worked in silence, save for a faint sigh and a squirt of ointment under her nose. Scott closed his eyes. He wanted to scream, but he didn't. Instead, he went to class. The lesson was titled, Utensils, How to Use Them. Headmaster Brittany herself led this class. "You spoiled children," she began, walking among them like a hawk in a chicken coop. "You greedy little brats who eat with your fingers. That ends now." She lifted a spoon. "This is a tool," she said. "You are not beasts, at least not yet." Each student was given a tray with mock food and a spoon. Their task was to scoop and lift without dropping anything. One boy succeeded. She patted his head. "Well done, Mikey," she said. "Maybe you're not completely useless, but don't let that get to your head." To the class, she added, "You're all broken things. My job is to make you less broken." Scott sat in silence, gripping his spoon like it was an alien device. He had no words left. The day passed in strange classes, one on identifying colors, another on obedience, the most important subject, they said. Students practiced saying "yes, ma'am" and "thank you for correcting me." The more natural it sounded, the less pain they'd endure. By 4:30, the bell sounded, a strange, hollow chime that marked the end of instruction. They were returned to the dome. The cribs opened. They were changed again. Scott, anticipating the process, forced himself to relieve his bladder just before his turn. A calculated move. If they caught him holding it, they'd see it as defiance, and defiance earned punishment. Dinner was worse. 2 jars. One labeled Salisbury steak, the other peach cobbler. Both tasted identical, like lukewarm clay. Afterward, Headmistress Brittany returned. "If you are good," she said, "you may earn Friday night privileges, pizza and a film, but if you disobey, we paddle." They all nodded. What else could they do? By 6 p.m., the cribs were locked again. The sky outside was darkening, the last rays of sun stretching across the floor like fingers reaching for escape. Scott stared at the window, his mind moving faster now. Beneath the layers of fear, shame, and submission, something else stirred. Not hope. Not yet. But the first spark of a plan. He would not stay here forever. He would find a way out.